Wait, sorry. Hello? Hello. That was a rocking good start.
Auspicious to say the very least.
Auspicious. This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing. Have you seen our email?
I have seen it. I think we should discuss that, but not this time.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we should spend an entire episode talking about visits to the proctologist.
Next week on Midlifing. Thanks Corbetron for Corbetron gave us quite a detailed, and we will talk about this at some point.
I thoroughly. It might have been my favourite email of the week, if not ever.
Yes, it was provoked by us mentioning a PSA test. By the way, I called them. This is a follow-up. I called because you have to call the doctor to find out the results of your blood tests, which of course I've never had to do in my life. And I said, yes, I'm calling about, we'd like you to come and see us.
Oh, shoot.
And I, as they say, I was literally, my heart, I started going, what? And that was what they led with. And then they said, you're going to see a healthcare assistant, an HCA, which of course dropped my heart rate immediately because obviously he's not too serious. And yes, we need to talk about lipids.
Oh, so there was some fat-related issues that you needed to chat about.
Yeah, and I said so. And so I actually had to ask. So there was no issues with the PSA. And she's going, she's like checking through her notes. So yeah, no.
That's interesting. Yeah, when I had my gallbladder stuff, at first, I was having some questions about my raised cholesterol, and then I went on this like very reduced fat diet for a significant period of time. Went and had another blood test. Phoned up, and they were like, "So yeah, there's nothing to worry about with regards to diabetes." I was like, "Good." Wasn't worried about diabetes. I was slightly more concerned about my cholesterol level. Oh, hang about. Let me just look for that. It's like that was what you were looking for, right? That was the thing that we were worried about. Have I had a head injury and I've forgotten that it was diabetes? Oh no. Your cholesterol's way down. It's like, okay, good. Lead with that because that's the thing that I was worried about.
Yeah, it's curious. I don't quite, I don't know how those systems work. I certainly don't know how those systems work here. But of course, things to do with, heart disease. I'm much more likely to die from heart disease than I am prostate cancer. Let's get it straight, right? My father had a massive heart attack and a quadruple bypass. So,
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. So, and also other members,
Simon Ellis,
other brothers of his also died from heart disease. So no,
shitting
so
hell.
Yeah, so I've got those two genetic predispositions.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And yeah, so the thing about the lipids though is I'm assuming it's LDL, so whatever that stands for now, the bad cholesterol.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the last time I had this stuff done, it was also flagged, and so I went and had a cardiac CT scan.
Wow.
Yeah, they did the whole dye thing, and the doctor said, it's always a pleasure to get to report this kind of report. So my heart it was all super, super good. So I suspect they haven't got that information in front of them. Or it's changed dramatically since 4 years ago, which is hard to imagine.
It's unlikely, isn't it? It's more likely that
they just haven't registered so I celebrate. Well, I didn't celebrate. I commiserated this information by having a big fat slice of panettone. I might ask them about it. Lil said, "Do you think you should talk about the kilogram of butter you eat every week?" which is an exaggeration. It's half a kilogram. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to look. Have you been watching any TV? This is not what I want to talk about, but have you been watching any TV?
I finished season 3 of Slow Horses on Apple TV.
Oh, I heard that's quite good, that show.
Yeah, it was quite good. I am an episode behind Reacher.
Oh, I watched the latest one last night.
And I think that's pretty much it.
Actually, last weekend I watched a show called, I think it's called Fleishman is in Trouble.
Oh, I got about 20 minutes into that and just went, you can all fuck off.
So I watched the whole thing. It was unrelentingly depressing, I have to say.
Life is too short to watch other people's misery.
Yeah, I fully dosed up on it, on other people's misery.
Oh, well done.
And the payoff...
Was it worth it?
It was like the little bit of chocolate you get when you open up a advent calendar thing.
Mm.
It was that.
So no, then.
No, exactly. Unless yeah, it was. I don't quite know what I actually, as I felt more and more. I actually really did have quite a strong feeling of being quite depressed as I was watching it. I did, and I was wondering why am I? I really did wonder why am I watching this, and I don't understand. And then so I tried to cheer myself up by watching Taylor Swift Eras, the concert.
Mm-hmm. Was
got
that good?
Do you know she's got it's a whole tour. It's called Eras, right?
Mm-hmm. So can I just say, for people who are not being sort of gently sucked towards the North American pronunciation of the word, Simon is saying eras tour, the eras, as in moments in time through history.
As opposed to mistakes.
Tour, as opposed to mistakes, which is how apparently our North American cousins are now referring to the word era. They're saying, I'm in my such and such era. It's like, what have you done wrong?
Exactly. And so but it is
sorry. I'm so sorry. That was so obnoxious of me.
Eras.
Okay,
yeah,
it
is confusing. That's right up there with fairy and fairy for me.
Ferry and fairy.
Fairy and fairy. Like I'm gonna take the ferry across to the South Island.
She's gonna have to be a strong swimmer to carry you. That poor little Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell the fairy.
And then now I've got a picture of Peter Pan holding a really big boat and shaking it over the dog.
Anyway, it wasn't until I was in my late 20s, maybe early 30s, that I heard the difference between those two words.
Oh.
That's a real New Zealand thing, that one. The other one that's curious in New Zealand is we often say woman for the plural of woman. So it's really, to say women, yeah, it's quite hard work for I don't mean politically. I mean
no, just that's it. Yeah. Linguistically, the vowels are just all over the shop.
There is no such thing as two women. It's just two women. There's only one woman in New Zealand. Anyway, so
Taylor Swift.
Eras. Mm-hmm. Taylor Swift, yeah, and it's a very curious thing to have released a bunch of albums and then to call each album an era. No,
era.
An era. It's very odd. Like, to me, there's something. I mean, that's bombast. And the concert, it's really. I mean, I've watched. I've watched a couple of her concerts only ever on. And no spoilers here because I know my niece Ruby is going to the show at Wembley in the summer.
Gotcha.
So excited! I think.
Can you have spoilers for a concert? There's going to be songs.
Well, we talked about this yesterday, actually, she and I, because she said she hasn't watched the film because she doesn't want to know what happens. And I did have that thought. Like, she comes on, she sings songs, there's dancers, there's a band.
She wears a dress, she puts another dress on.
She does an acoustic part. Yeah, everyone's got their, and they've got their, yeah.
Nobody's watching with their eyes, they're watching, well, they are, but they're watching through a screen.
Boy, we sound like middle-aged men right now, right here, right now. So, yeah,
right here,
it was the...
Right now.
Exactly.
Right here.
Right
now. Right here. Right now. Sorry. Okay.
So, and we had... I found it to be odd watching this And it's odd because it's so huge and it's basically every theatrical cliche possible is squeezed in there. It is extraordinary. And they've got motion tracking stuff on the dancers. They've got some of the, what do you call it when you do video, when you match up video to particular, anyway, I can't remember.
Video mapping.
Video mapping, thank you. Video mapping, thanks. And
hey, listen, this is my area now, kiddo.
I know. Well, actually, it did occur to me that you should watch it just from the perspective of technically what's going on is mind-boggling. Like it is. Yeah. But then it's so cliched. It's so cliched. It's incredibly it was incredibly difficult for me to watch. And I did feel like it was it did feel like she was dialing it in a way that I hadn't ever sort of experienced before. But of course, it's a massive show that she's doing every night for months and months on end. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty amazing, but yeah, just a wee bit. I struggled to get through it, I have to say. So maybe I'm my Taylor Swift moment. My Taylor Swift era is almost over.
Okay.
Yes, slightly so. So it didn't quite pull me out of the Fleishman is in trouble hole that I sank into.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Perhaps I will encourage you not to watch Saltburn to cheer yourself up.
I've heard this. This also came up at lunch yesterday with my niece and my sister and niece and nephew. So that it's supposed to be the thing that they're all talking about.
It is a singularly beautifully made film. People, I mean, the close-ups of Jacob Elordi's sweaty neck are peak eroticism. Please do not mistake that.
Is it kind of like a psychological thriller? Is that what the...
Eventually, kind of, sort of. But really what it is it's a paean to the upper classes through the lens of saying how shit the middle classes are and how avaricious and grasping they are. And it just struck me as like, wow, in this particular era, the filmmaker, who is terribly posh and terribly well-bred, may have made an error in thinking that, although
you were so clever. You were so clever with that. All all these errors.
That's the thing to do. It just, I found myself becoming increasingly uncomfortable with the way that the class system in the UK was not being interrogated.
But is it a UK-based film?
It's a UK-based film, yeah,
right.
Absolutely. It was quite repellent.
Wow.
And it got to the point where I trudged through it because I didn't want to be the person who dismissed something that I hadn't seen, but I had a feeling going in I was going to find it quite distasteful. And the thing that people are upset about,
is the grave thing.
The grave fucking is quite adorable. None of the eroticism is a concern. A little bit of licking up of cummy bathwater. Again, so what? Not a big deal. People do weird things when they are aroused. But it's the broader canvas of what? No, people do. Let's not pretend.
No. It's just that I was still trying to process what it was that you'd said, and it was like it took me that long to get what it was that you'd just said. So yeah,
I think there's been a lot of like people doing a kind of version of pearl clutching about that. And I find,
there's pearl clutching to be done about more serious things.
Exactly.
When you're watching the film,
there's pearl clutching to be done about how the ideologies of ruling class Britain are being promulgated and propped up. Those are the.
I think I'm going to have to watch it now. I think.
Okay. Anyway, we turned into a bizarre review show where we're not actually reviewing anything. We're just saying things happen.
I did watch... sorry, we're going to just continue that bizarre. I watched The Creator the other night.
Oh, that's the AI robot-y thing, yeah?
Yeah.
I quite fancy that. Is it good?
I really, really loved it.
Is that Denzel's boy in it?
I don't know.
I think it might be.
The kid, it's really... Also, I think it's quite original in terms of the whole look of it, and I found it really, I really, really liked it. Also, it's got the woman from The West Wing who played AJ. No, what was her name in West Wing?
CJ.
AJ. She's a baddie. Well,
So, oh,
that's
she's a baddie.
spoiler.
So that's Alison Janney, and it is indeed it is Denzel's boy, John David Washington.
Who is the lead?
The main lead, yeah, he is Denzel Washington's son.
Son.
That's why I said Denzel's boy.
It's not
Like they're my pals who just rock up.
It's not possible that Denzel Washington can't be old enough to have a. Oh man.
Denzel Washington is not a young man anymore. He's probably in his 60s at the very least.
Oh my god.
Which would mean having a 30-odd-year-old son is probably entirely possible.
We have to stop this podcast.
Is it because we've come out the other side of midlifing to old life?
Series 2, old lifing. Afterlifing. Series 3. Hey, I did want to. We've almost talked for too long already on. Oh my god, we've got to stop this.
Oh, okay. Goodbye. He was born in 1954, our Denzel.
Oh, so he is 60. What does that make him? Oh, 54.
54.
That makes him 70 this year.
70 in December.
Denzel Washington is nearly 70.
Yeah, so he's perfectly old enough to have a fully adult son.
He's probably, and grandchildren.
In fact, he's probably got I was going to say he's probably got grandchildren who are at high school now. You were going to talk about something. I have a feeling that you came to me with your hands full.
I did. I read a book recently, and it's called Of Boys and Men.
That rings a bell. Of
Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling, Why It Matters, and What to Do About It. I mean, it's a horrendous title, I have to say, by Richard Reeves. So I want to read you something, and it's just brief, but I thought it was interesting in terms of, things that we've thought about, and I also wanted to get your take on it because, because I trust...
Because I'm an opinionated sod.
Yeah, and when I say thoughts, I meant your ridiculous opinions.
My knee-jerk shouting.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and everything in between, are you ready for some knee-jerk shouting from... Anyway, it's not like that. Here it is, a model of stable masculinity, writes someone called David Morgan. A model of stable masculinity would include a relatively high degree of congruence between public discourses, about masculinity, and the public and private practices of masculinity. For individual men, there would be a sense of, this is a bit academic, ontological security. This is not a great slogan. What do we want? Ontological security. When do we want it? Now. This is in fact exactly what many men are seeking, a more solid social anchor, more certainty about how to be in the world. I don't have anything else to. When I read that, the book itself is about. Well, it says it all on the title. It's about this idea that there's something going wrong. There's something wrong in relation to how men are, and it tries to talk about those in relation to not about family. Actually, he really deals with that. The sort of thorny issue of the stability of a kind of cis heteronormative family deals with it pretty nicely in terms of that. Actually, what's the key thing is the presence of fathers. That doesn't have to be within those kinds of regular families or heteronormative families. But yeah, I wonder if there's anything in there about certainty about being in the world that strikes a chord with you, or if you've got knee-jerk opinions in relation to it.
No, I mean, I think it's fairly gussied up common sense.
And so you're kind of there with that.
In the sense that, I mean, I think I'm not sure. I'd have to sort of sit down and pore over the words rather than just hear them once.
Yeah, sorry.
And
I know, no. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
But the idea that there is a... Go on.
No, go on.
The idea that there is a mismatch between cultural representation, brackets, z, close brackets, of masculinity that impact negatively upon our, and by our I mean men's, clarity of performance makes a lot of sense to me.
And so clarity of performance, you mean what it is that who we are and what we do?
Yeah. I'm not using performance there as an analog for falsity. I just mean how we do something,
how we present, how we are,
how we enact.
Hence the ontological thing. But
yeah, exactly. Because I don't. Okay, now we're just going to get into I worry that I'm going to start to sound very
academic.
Yeah, and social constructivist rather than positivist, or any, which is not a massive shock because that's probably who I am. Is that I think there are core bits of me, absolutely, but I also think that there are the explication of those core bits are informed by the scripts that I have available to me. I remember walking past a lad who didn't like me because I was queer. His words, not mine. And he just, broad daylight, walking down the street. I was maybe 14. I was with my friends, and he just gobbed right in my face.
Yeah.
Because of who I was to him. Because even with my limited script, I was not performing a version of masculinity that he was happy with.
Wow.
And that was, and I
wonder
know
how he's doing now, that young man.
I mean,
that's some real violent. That's real.
Oh yeah, and he was this is a ridiculous thing to say, that I got off quite lucky based on who he was.
Right. That was in terms of his repertoire. That was right down the bottom.
Was pretty, yeah. That was pretty much a handshake.
Yeah.
And I knew even then that I had to modify my behaviours in order to not
provoke
provoke. Thank you very much. To provoke, and I was walking down the street with two lads, both of whom went on to go into the military. I don't know where one of them ended up after that, but the other one left the military, became a firefighter. So very blokey at the time, blokey laddie lads who were my best friends at school. Unproblematically, we liked the same things. We went to the cinema. I was by far and away the softest of the group. I was the gentlest and the I didn't conform to their performance of masculinity, but I didn't unsettle their sense of self. Because they were sweet, lovely, warm, kind men, young men. So I think I understand what he's writing about, and I think that guy who spat in my face was in receipt of an incredibly limited script. Much more limited than the very blokey lads that were my friends. And I already had a more open script than they did. I had a dad who, despite being very, from a very particular kind of blokey script, told me he loved me every day and still does. So there was a softness in my home
and security there as well.
Yeah. So there was that allowed me, it allowed me a certain level of space and safety.
One of the things in this book that is, it's very strong, the sociological data on the presence versus the absence of fathers, and this is not just in the United States, it's also in the United Kingdom, it's also in Western European countries. It's a particularly Western phenomenon, which is, he talks about that in relation to feminism, which I think is really, really interesting, which we might get to, but that the presence of fathers in terms of, and that's not about within in a kind of normative father married to mother, both at home kind of thing, but just physical presence, so that young boys whose fathers see them and spend time with them, the difference in terms of what goes on in their lives afterwards is extraordinary sociologically. Like it's quite frightening, actually, if your father is absent, meaning you don't have any relationship with your father as a young man. It's very, very, very telling. Or someone has that kind of influence or role in your life. And so it's just interesting to hear you talk about that in terms of your own father, I guess. But the thing about the the way he describes it in terms of the kind of rise and the strengthening of feminism is that the idea somehow that implicit in parts of the world in which women are having more choice available, or able to do things which you might say are, not even might say, which are better, right? Which are good for the health and well-being and political strength, etc., of women. That there's this idea that, and it's sort of a trap to fall into, which is somehow that's at the expense of men, that somehow it's a zero-sum game, that if women go up, then men must go down. And he's really, really clear about this, that it's not a zero-sum game, that actually both things can happen. Women can have a stronger part in society, kind of be more equal. That's right. That's the right way of saying it. And also then and men, we can deal with this kind of ongoing problem. It's not something that has to be, as I say, zero sum. And I found the book really, really fascinating, I have to say. You know, many episodes ago, you stumbled across Martin Luther.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't. It's not like I discovered him. I found myself revivifying my memories of him. Yes.
Yes, and you tried to do a German accent,
for which I am still ashamed. I apologise.
Well, we had an email from a listener.
Oh no!
Whose son, who's 3 years old, the only podcast he listens to is the one with the dog on the wall, and he was imitating Lee doing this German accent, and so I think, Lee, you should play that right here, right now.